Thank you very much for joining us. We have a bunch of you joining on the call right now. We can see through our background streaming service, we have a couple more people. So we are still playing the music. Please invite, share with a friend, and then we will start the topic very soon. The topic today is cultural representation in a film makeup, authenticity and sensitivity with Miss Miller. Uh, so please join in and we will have a sound and nice discussion very soon. See a bunch of you on the radio app right now. We have let me see how many of you are connecting very so far. Let me see. I have 50 people connected on the radio app and listening all over the place. Thank you everyone who is joining from Ghana, and also shout out to the Uganda people on the call and the US people. US, we have a lot of people I can't even name. I don't even know where exactly in the US you are. So you have to comment on our social media. So thank you very much for joining us. Without further ado, though, I would like to present to you that Elena Miller is have experience working in a film, theater, makeup effect, bridal, and beauty and fashion editorial. And she did her education with a variety of skills, such as learning how to sculpt, cast, mold, paint from latex, silicone, and gelatin. So, um, and she learned how to hand lay hair, ventilate wigs, and facial hair prices, pierces, as well as basic hairstyles. She graduated from a full-time year-long makeup design school for film and television program from Vancouver Film School back in December 2018. That's what I'm going to say. She will have to elaborate a little bit on that. So thank you very much for joining us and for coming on the show. And we are so pleased to have you. Welcome on the show, Miss Eleanor.
Hi, Ezekiel. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, so pumped up, and thank you very much for accepting to talk to us today. Without further ado, though, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
So let's get into it very quick. Um, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, what we need to know a little bit more about yourself besides what I just said.
Yeah, so um, my name is Elena Miller, and I am Peruvian-American. I was born in Lima, Peru, and I was adopted when I was 3 months old, although I didn't come to the US until I was about 6 months old because my adoption took a long time. Um, I was adopted by two incredible women. Their names were Meg and Jane. And my moms are lesbians, yes. And they raised this beautiful, strong, independent woman that I am, and have really encouraged me to pursue my dreams, both in a more academic education. I have my degree in biology from St. Olaf College in Minnesota. And I also have a makeup certificate diploma from Vancouver Film School, like you said. And I got into makeup artistry after college. I was doing makeup around the same time the boom of YouTube hit, around 2015, 2016. Now, I say the boom, meaning the boom of makeup artistry. A lot of YouTubers back in that time were starting to get into the glam side of things. I can remember some OGs like Michelle Phan, Desi Perkins, Katie, who was back then known as Lester Lux, um, Jackie Aina, just some incredible YouTube beauty gurus that paved the way for what is now the TikTok influencer. Although TikTok is now sadly dead, but
Yeah.
the day after TikTok
Yeah.
dies, we talk about this. But yeah, I was really inspired by their artistry. One thing about Michelle Phan was that I loved that her tutorials were so easily accessible. They would say, instead of using a very specific brand of something, she would just say, use a brown eyeliner to do this, or use a black eyeshadow to go like this to smoke it out. It wasn't so much about buying things and having the exact same thing. It was more so, what do you already own? What do you have? And how can we make it work? How can we be
Yeah.
creative? And I really loved that. So to make a long story a little bit shorter, after college, I was looking for a part-time job, and I worked at a Dick's Sporting Goods for a little while because, you and me, we both were soccer referees back in the day,
Yeah.
and traveled the country together, and we had some great memories and times. And if you ever guys want to talk about that, that's a whole different ball game. Um, we've got stories. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, so I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods in the apparel department because I loved working out, I loved being active, refereeing, still doing soccer, and then I wanted a little bit more. I wanted more money, I wanted more freedom. So I applied to the Ulta Beauty here in Minnesota, and it was very close to the Dick's Sporting Goods. If you're familiar with the area, it was right out 394 in Minnetonka.
Yeah.
Um, and so I ended up getting a job as a part-time cashier and worked my way up very steadily, but also not, because it took 2 years for me to be promoted from just a part-time cashier all the way to the Lancome counter manager. I was very good at sales. I've been always very well spoken in terms of my marketing, I guess. I like to be friendly. I like to work with people, and my customer service skills, I guess, brought me to that position. And after a while, I became a little bit bogged down by the sales goals of it all, but I loved doing people's makeup, especially people who had never felt like they were included in the conversation. And that could mean people of color, that could mean older women, that could mean women with more disabilities. The makeup world is changing, and I think it's going in the right direction in terms of accessibility, both in skin tone range and also in adaptability. I know there's a brand that literally makes eyeliners for people who struggle with holding things because they may have a tremor. So I thought that was really cool. And I think that that is where I see, if I was going to give you a beauty forecast, I would say
Yeah.
that our brands are only going to get more and more inclusive. And I think that's incredible. I think we need to keep having these conversations, because if we don't, nothing will change.
Of course.
So I have loved being part of this community. And when I was doing makeup for Ulta, I realized that at the end of the day, I loved doing the makeup more than doing the selling. And so I looked into school, because I'm a firm believer in education and I wanted to pursue something properly. So I wanted to learn everything about it. So I applied to VFS, got accepted, got waitlisted because they're just extremely popular, and
Oh,
then
wow.
managed to get in on a whim because some other girl dropped out at the last second. So it was like
Wow.
the universe was telling me, now is your time, let's go. So I did. And I quit my job in 3 weeks and I moved to Vancouver, Canada, all by myself with literally nothing but 2 suitcases and a dream. And I was so excited to start school. I met some of my best friends at school and really pushed myself creatively. I will say there was a bit of a diversity gap when I was in Vancouver. There are a lot of different types of people, but I would say that more representation was definitely needed on set in some ways. I felt like
Yeah.
oftentimes I was the only woman on set, or I was the only woman of color on set. I was definitely the only Peruvian on set a lot of the time.
Wow.
So I guess what I want to do is continue to bring my story and my voice and my platform to expanding Latino representation on set. I think that there's a lot of it in California and probably in the Southwest, in Albuquerque and New Mexico and even Texas. But of course, I grew up in Minnesota. So it's the land of the super tall Norwegian Scandinavians. And
Yes.
I'm a brown, short Latina. So I
Uh,
stick out a lot. But that's no reason not to be incredibly, encouraged and excited about this work. I think that the more we tell authentic stories, the more that we bring real people into the limelight, and that includes people of color. And for me, specifically Latino people, I think that the more interesting our stories will be. I don't know about you, but seeing the same stories being told over and over again by Hollywood, and the reboots and the refreshes and all the things like that, while I appreciate the nostalgia, I often do find that my favorite stories that I've seen in the last few years have been super original, unique, new voices, new people, from vast backgrounds, international backgrounds. I've been watching a ton more stuff from South Korea. I've been
yeah.
watching more from Africa. I've been watching more from like specific countries too, like South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria. So I'm seeing a lot more representation available on our streaming services too, which I am so excited about. Because I think this is a global film market, and people forget that while Hollywood is a very special place, I don't think that Hollywood is where people are going to forever be. I think it's limiting. In a sense, there's barriers, gatekeeping. It's a costly place to live.
Yeah.
So I think more than ever, I think we see the film industry changing and going towards a more global market, and I'm really excited and happy to be a part of it. So that was a very long answer, but there you go.
Hey, that's what we are looking for. Just trying to understand, where you're coming from and your backstory about getting to that field. And I'm so happy that we end up connecting. And I know you mentioned a little bit that we connected to back then in soccer. People who don't know, I used to be a very active a soccer referee. Also, my friend here, Elena, also used to be like very heavy in the soccer, but we all grow now. We are growing out of it. So that's why, we're trying to find another passion and a hobby to do. But I'm so happy that now you find the passion, the job that you like, which is the makeup artist, especially when you are in the field that is your passion, what you like to do to bring that change is fulfilling. And I'm so happy for you for that. But before we continue, I have one anecdote or a quote for you, and I would like to ask you to tell me, elaborate a little bit on that. And I know there's one of the lady that you probably know, Lady Gaga. She said, whether I'm wearing a lot of her makeup or no makeup, I am always the same person inside. What did that quote inspire in you?
Wow, that is beautiful. And shout out to Lady Gaga. I mean, she is definitely someone who inspires me so much. Her creativity and just her brain is limitless in terms of what I've seen her put on in terms of show-stopping performances and lyricism. So I actually really loved what she did at the last Olympics too. Okay, anyways, I will say that when I hear a quote from Lady Gaga, is that to me, that means that we have to stay true to ourselves. That makeup is something that we put on both either ourselves or other people to create characters and to tell a story for that specific time. But makeup itself is extremely removable. You can wash it off even with your finger. You rub your finger against your face, it's gone. It's not permanent. I mean, there are such things as permanent makeup, but it's even that you can still get lasered off. So nothing is permanent when it comes to makeup artistry. And I think that that is both a blessing and a curse. From a set perspective, you're like, gosh darn it, why can't this prosthetic just stay down? Like, why is the heat taking it off? Or why is it so cold that it's, starting to ice up, whatever it is. But on the flip side, at the end of the day, when everyone is going home and you're tired and all you want to do is crawl into bed, is okay, we got to get this makeup off, we got to get this person back to who they were, and who they are, because this is just something that we put on. This is a mask. And then from a personal perspective too, I know when I put makeup on, when I'm putting on a lot of makeup, I'm not trying to hide behind it. Sometimes I think makeup gets misconstrued as like a girl who wears makeup is trying so hard to be someone she's not. Or a guy too. More men are wearing makeup. I mean, historically, men were the ones that wore makeup in the first place. If you think about the French Revolution and men wearing makeup and heels, but anyone who wears makeup, whether men, women, non-binary, people see it as a mask, and I would love to break that idea. I don't think makeup should be seen as a mask. I think it should be seen purely as a way of, if anything, a lens. A lens we can see through. A lens is what we can put on ourselves and create this beautiful way we want to see ourselves in the mirror. But it doesn't necessarily have to be something that blocks the rest of the world from seeing us. And if you look at it that way, you can change your lens every time. You can put on, I mean, we do it on Snapchat. We do it on Instagram. We do it on TikTok. Rip TikTok. Putting on makeup shouldn't necessarily change who you are internally. Like, you are who you are. Be your authentic self. Stay true to who you are, and use makeup to elevate yourself. Use it to tell part of your story. Use it to express yourself. Be creative with it. But I think that you can wear a full glam beat, or you can wear chapstick, and it's not going to change who you are at the end of the day. At least it doesn't change me, and it doesn't change how I look at other people. I see people come into my trailer or into my life with full faces of makeup, and I'm not going to judge them because I'm like, oh wow, she's wearing a lot of eyeliner today, she must be really insecure. No. It's like, damn girl, I know how hard that eyeliner was to put on, and if you did it in less than 5 minutes, you are a champ. You are a winner today, because eyeliner is hard. You sometimes, if you even mess up the tiniest little bit, you're like, ah, damn it, I'm gonna have a bad day. No, you're not, because it's eyeliner and we can wash it off. And it's kind of a metaphor for life. You can wash it off. You can try again. You can take it off. You can restart. You can always redo it. And so what I love that Lady Gaga is saying is that at the end of the day, whether we're wearing a makeup or not, we're still the same person. And I hope that people go through life that way, and that they can stay true to themselves, that they love themselves enough to embrace themselves as who they are as individuals, and they don't feel like makeup is something that they need to wear. It's something we want to wear. Oh, I think I lost you. I can't hear you anymore, Ezekiel. No, not yet. Maybe when you plugged in the headphones.
All right.
There we
Oh,
go.
can you hear me? I think I didn't mute myself so that you don't hear all the click that I'm doing here. Sorry for that. I'm saying it's a nicely put that you said that the makeup is something that we want to put on, not something we need to put on. But I understand that when you are in a film aspect of that as the industry, maybe it's become a need to portray the imagery of the community or the idea that you're trying to pursue from that point of view. So coming back to that point of view as a, industry wide, how is the makeup industry is going now in the film, in the commercial, in the aspect of that? How is that play now? How is that going?
It's going really well. I mean, I feel like kind of like how we were talking about earlier that brands are becoming more inclusive. It makes my job a lot easier. Before,
Mhm.
I felt like not all of the commercial brands available were great at having a wide skin tone range. That makes it very hard. You have someone who has a darker complexion or who has a different undertone, and you
Yeah.
don't have a color for them, you really need to tap into your artistry. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. I think any good makeup artist who is really worth their money should be able to use the primary colors and make any shade possible. Red,
Mixed it up.
yellow,
Yeah.
blue, white, and black. You can get anything.
Mhm.
That's why they're primaries. So, however, we like to find convenience. And so in the makeup world, and oftentimes it's not even convenience, it's time. In film
Mhm.
and TV, time is money. We don't have a lot of it.
Mhm.
So if you can buy a foundation that's already pre-made, of course you're going to use that. You're going to mix it up. It's going to go much faster. And that way you can
Yeah.
get your actor to set faster. So I would say that now makeup is definitely super important in film and TV for creating characters. It's hard because at the same time, I want to be like, these stories were about real people, but then we're taking away all their blemishes. We're making sure their skin looks perfect.
But
We're
yeah.
making them look very unattainable. However, I'm a firm believer that sometimes always less is more, and then let's let the skin breathe every once in a while. We don't need to cover every single blemish because it takes
Mhm.
away that authenticity.
Mhm.
However, if my actor says, hey, I've got a zit, would you please cover it, I'm never going to say no.
No.
Obviously,
Okay.
you're the one that has your face on camera. You feel how you feel, and I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel confident. And so if my
Mhm.
actor ever tells me, hey, I've got XYZ, can you help me?
Mhm.
Of course I'm going to help you. Of course I'm going to, do what I can to make you feel the best version of yourself so that you go out there and tell your story authentically. So that's kind of how I lean into it.
Oh, wow. That's good. You go out there, make your story authentically and the way you want to make it. So her job, basically, before we get into detail about the job, though, I think you already started that is to make people look authentic and be empowered. But I want you to tell us a little bit about like um, the responsibility that you have when you are to be on set or you have things that coming up immediately you're on the side. What is the responsibility like for a professional makeup artist like you?
Yeah, so kind of just doing a day in my life, if you will, verbally, not visually, although I would love to do a video someday. But our call times are early. If you are not an early riser, you're going to have to become one or you will not make it. And timeliness, being on time, time is money. Some of these features are so big, the budgets are 150, 200 million dollars.
Mm-hmm.
You're asleep or you're not on set at the time that you need, guess what, you might not have a job tomorrow, because you need to be on time is early. What is it, early is on
Yeah,
time is
yeah.
and late is unacceptable. That
Yes.
was something I actually learned from my Nigerian soccer coach back when I was playing. And then it would be like, okay, all right, Dave, on time is late. Yeah. And then he'd keep us another 30 minutes after practice.
Ah.
but that was, he was always trying to make us better. So I don't complain. But anyways, in the film industry, I do find that our day starts early, so you got to be ready. I set like 3 alarms. Sometimes the earliest I've gotten up is 2:45 in the morning to get to set by 3:45 in the morning, and then
Wow.
mm-hmm, and then I'm on set for, well, usually I'll start either in the trailer or in the background tent, depending on if I'm on the main cast or if I'm working on background. And I'll start by setting up my station if it wasn't already set from the night before. So that means making sure all my tools are clean, my brushes, my eyelash curlers, any of the tweezers I've used, making sure they're all sanitized, sterilized,
Oh,
100% ready
wow.
to go for every, because sanitation is huge. You need to be aware, and this is where my biology degree comes in.
Okay.
Bloodborne pathogens and uh, permissible diseases, things like,
Like the skin diseases?
yeah, like
Oh,
conjunctivitis, pink eye, herpes simplex, which is just like cold sores. You have to be incredibly careful when you're working with
oh,
talent, because if you give someone pink eye, guess what? Again, you're not going to have a job the next day. These
wow.
are actors that are, you know, A, B, C, D, E listers, that their job is their face. If you injure them, if you wound their face, that's their moneymaker.
Yeah, they can come again. Yeah. Oh,
So you have to
wow.
be incredibly clean, incredibly knowledgeable of like the types of products you're putting on people. You don't want to have any chemical interactions. That's true too.
Wow.
So my biology degree, my chemistry background has come in very handy when it comes to the different ingredients in products, because knowing that a dimethicone is in a certain product means it's going to be slippery. It's going to be a silicone-based product. Well, silicone works well with silicone, but same thing with how oil and water don't mix, silicone and water don't mix. So if you're trying to put a water-based foundation on top of a silicone-based primer, guess what? You're gonna be fighting that makeup all day. So knowing these types of things, having that science background has surprisingly been very beneficial for my makeup artistry. Keeps me on my toes, keeps me on top of my knowledge. I love to learn about new products. And so that day of kind of schedule, once everything's set for the trailer, then I'm waiting for talent. Talent comes in, we have a set amount of time. We communicate with whoever is either the first AD or the first team PA, which is PA stands for production assistant.
Yeah.
Whoever is going to be working with our talent and basically wrangling them, which means getting them from point A to point B, that is who I am communicating with. So I am talking to them about how much time I need, how long will they be here, how much time there's left on set, and we're going to work together to figure out how we get this person what we call through the works, which basically means through makeup, through hair, and through wardrobe. And that way
Oh,
they're
wow.
100% ready to go to set. So my morning is very chaotic. It's very busy. It's very like, we've got time is money. Everyone got to do their job. You have to be on top of everything, organized. A clean station is a happy station. An organized station is a flawless station. Because as I keep saying, time is money, time is money, time is money. And so you do not want to be the person that is holding up production, because that means you are holding up the money. And I do
Wow.
not mess with people's money. I do not want to be the one that is causing people to have to stay late, miss their kids' soccer game. You know, Lord knows I would hate to be the one that kept someone from their kids' soccer game. I love soccer. So
Wow.
yeah, it's definitely a very busy morning. And then throughout the day, if there are no changes, so films are never shot in order. Very rarely are they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's often
Mhm.
1, 7, 2, 4, 3, 9, back to 1 over here in terms of the scenes. So
So does
film,
it mean in those different sets, you are how do you say, changing the makeup for
mhm,
different ones at the same time?
yep,
That would be
back
very
and forth,
fast
back and
paced.
forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. Now, if we're lucky, we've got a great AD team, and they've scheduled it so that all the scenes where the person looks the same is all in one order. And then they do the next part all in one order. But sometimes, due to location, due to availability, due to the camera movement, due to whatever it is, because I feel like oftentimes makeup is the last thing that people like to worry about, even though I'm like, you really want to go from this full glam to the shower scene when her hair is wet, back to the full glam? You really want to take 45 minutes for me to
Oh,
dry her
yeah.
hair and redo her whole face. You really want to do that? Okay, yeah, we can do that. That's great. I'm going to need 45 minutes to an hour to reset her because she's wet and you're going to want her back to going to prom. So, you know what I mean? So
it seemed like you have to do kind of a set study to make sure this one will be wet or this one will be dry, this one is dirty kind of a scene, or this one is with sand. So then to plan around which one to come first, so that one, the person is the actor is safe, and second, your material is used efficiently, and at the same time the scene is going like, you know, sequentially. Is that correct?
Yeah, and
oh
so what
wow
we do at the very beginning, when I first receive a script from the director or the producer, whoever I'm communicating with, I do what's called a breakdown. And so I read through the script at least twice. I try to do 3 times, but sometimes times just gets away from me. I'll be honest. But I'm reading through the script and I'm making notes as I go about all the different moments where there might be a shower scene, or she fell in the mud, or she ripped her eyelashes off, or whatever it is. If there's any changes, I make a note of it so that when I'm then putting it into an Excel spreadsheet, or just like I have an app on my iPad that does this breakdown for me. I can keep track of all these different changes so that when the day comes, I'm prepared and I know, okay, today we are doing these scenes and these are all the changes. So that means at this time, I need her to be ready for this thing. And then we're gonna have to go back to this so that she's ready for this scene. So even though it might seem like my job is done after, you know, the first few hours, no. Oftentimes I'm jumping back around, or if I'm just like, if it looks like I'm sitting there playing on my iPad, which I'm sure a lot of directors or other crew members think I'm doing, I'm like, I'm literally trying to plan the rest of my day and tomorrow to try to make sure that we get our day done. Because I've literally been the reason that we've gotten days, because my structure and my organizational skills have been so on top of it. Thank goodness, you know, you're welcome, saved your day. But like being able to be that prepared has helped them be able to get all the filming they need. So jumping back and forth is like my forte. I try really hard to be on that. I definitely wasn't good at that always. I definitely started out just like everyone, making mistakes and, you know, having that moment where they were like, oh, is she ready? I'm like, ready for what? The next scene, we need her back. What are you talking about? I thought,
wow.
And so you learn very quickly, like, hey, you got to be on top of your stuff.
Good. You got to be on top of stuff when you're trying to do this job of especially film production, commercial, makeup artistry. So, but I know this job, the way you describe it, is like you got to be on top of it. You got to know what you're doing, have a good organizational skill. But beside that, you might have some challenges also, either to get in the field, or as a woman in the field, or as a minority on the field. What are, you know, some of the common challenges you face on set, or, you know, together in this industry that you are overcoming, or you want to you try to overcome?
Well, I could write a book.
Oh, wow. Let's hear it.
Yes, eventually I will write a book about all the things that I personally have struggled with in terms of getting into this industry.
I would
Whether
love to read it.
Sexism, racism, ableism. I will say, as someone who has ADHD and is neurodivergent, that is a whole nother invisible barrier that I like to fight with.
Yes.
Our brains work a little differently than neurotypical people. And so it's a whole nother level of diversity. I found myself trying to explain to people why my brain works the way it does. And if you aren't neurodivergent, it's a little hard. But I think, again, like everything, we are getting more aware. We are learning. People are talking about it more. And I like to bring those things into the conversation, because the more we talk about them, the less stigma there is.
Yes.
And so my neurodiversity, I think, plays a huge part into why I am the way that I am. And because my brain, it's literally me. And while people at first, they see a short brown Latina who's probably very loud and energetic and smiling all the time. What they don't see is my brain. And so I think that that's honestly been one of my biggest struggles that I've had to work with and overcome, because I'm very outgoing to the point where sometimes I'm too outgoing or too friendly. And
Mhm.
remembering to take a breath, step back, breathe, be professional. Of course, I love my job and I want to be there. I want to help. I want to create stories.
Mhm.
And I know that something I need to keep working on is maintaining that level of decorum on set and in my professional life.
Mhm.
So that is something for me to work on. And then for like a more diverse, like visual side of things, being a woman on set is and
Mhm.
has been hard for decades. I'm not the
Wow.
only person that has ever
You
experienced
mean
that.
specifically for makeup artists or in the
Oh yeah,
film industry as well?
industry as a whole, but makeup specifically, because I feel like now in the modern age, a lot of women are in my department, and so we are often viewed as just the vanities or the
Oh
glam
yeah.
team, or
Yeah.
it's just a little bit of powder. Don't worry, you
Yeah.
guys, it's just a little makeup. And I'm like,
Yeah.
my job is just as important as your cinematographer, and just as
Mm-hmm.
important as your grip, because
Yeah.
honestly, I'm the person that has the very last second conversation with your actor.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am not in a good mood, or if I can't reassure your talent to be the best version of themselves, guess what? You're not going to get a good take.
It will reflect, yeah,
Yeah.
in the product.
And
Yes.
they forget, and people forget that, because
Yeah.
I want them to know that I am not doing anything to harm them. I am trying to help them. And oftentimes, our job on set as makeup artists is just to be therapists. And if you work in
Oh.
salons, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a hairstylist, you know what I'm talking about. And especially women, I feel like we are often the caregivers on set. We are the empathizers. We are the communicators on set. And so when we're talking to talent, men or women, whoever they are, non binary individuals, whoever we've got, are keeping them calm, because set is honestly pretty chaotic. There's tons of moving parts. Everyone has to collaborate. If you think about it, it is a miracle that anything ever gets made, because
Mm-hmm.
you have a ton of people with ego, personality, and temper all trying to do the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
And then you've only got potentially a 12-hour day, because Lord knows, I really, as much as I love my job and I'll say like, yeah, I'll go on set for 16 hours, I don't want to be on set for
Oh.
16 hours. I want to go to the gym. I want to be able to
Yes.
watch soccer. I want to be
Yes.
able to like have a life, so
Family time. Yes.
family time, exactly. Work
Yes.
life balance. I know
Yes.
all these
Yes.
people think that millennials are crazy, that we invented this new thing called work life balance. It's like, no, we all just decided to set boundaries because we
Yes.
don't want to die.
Yes. Just working.
Yeah. I, I
Exactly.
I live, or I work to live. I don't live to work. And I'm
Exactly. Yes,
a firm
definitely.
believer in that.
Yes.
So I would say that in terms of like women, we often are sometimes pigeonholed in that caregiving. It puts a lot of emotional baggage on us. However, I will say I enjoy that aspect of the job. I don't mind being that person for people. Try to be a good listener. I try to give my advice when it's asked. And I like talking to people. I will say that every now and then I burn out and I will need, a day or two for no one to talk to me. I'm going to watch Netflix for like, you know, 20
Oh,
hours
I
or
mean,
Prime,
one
whatever
of
it is.
one of the great characteristics that I still keep of you is your nice way connecting with people, talking to people, very jovial way. That's what I appreciate the most. Every single time I'm like, she has a big energy. She's outgoing. She connects with people. In contrast of me, I'm very shy. Even though I also talk to people, but at the beginning, I don't know how the way to connect very easy. I can't figure that out. So I mean, I give you applause for that, and great. And you are in a field where it's, social, I will say, right? It's a
Yeah.
social, you have to be um human kind of connect person, and you are so good at that. And so that's great. I mean, there's no field without challenges, but the
Yeah.
way you find your way to adapt to it and accept it and be within, that's, I really appreciate that. And you're great. The fact that you take your education, incorporate the professionalism in artistry, and then also in a film. That is so great. And so, one of my listener here just write and say, can you give us a scenario or situation where you have effective teamwork that make a significant impact on the project? I feel like you already gave that example, but can you give a situation where effective teamwork that you had that make a significant impact on the result or the project that you work on? One example.
Yeah, definitely. And then also kind of going back to a little bit of the last question too about how being like the barriers in terms of like being a Latina woman. I will say it's kind of a funny story and they kind of build together. My name, Elena Miller, is very deceiving sometimes to people, and not on purpose. I don't try to pretend to be anybody I'm not, but when people see my name, they say Elena, and then they're like, why is your last name Miller? Like, you're
Because they
brown.
can't connect.
Yeah, they're like, and it's like, well, we're gonna get really deep really quick because here's my whole life story. I was adopted by lesbians,
Yes.
and then it just runs off on a tangent. So, being a Latina woman, I think on set, I have gotten onto sets that maybe I quote unquote had no business being on because, well, I disagree. I think every job I've had, I've earned. But I will say that people don't realize that I'm the person coming because my name doesn't tell you what I look like. Oftentimes we stereotype people by their name and we see people's names, and there's whole psychological studies about how if you have a certain name on your resume, you may or may not get a job.
Yeah.
And my name is tricky. People don't know what they're going to get. Now, my Instagram, for a while, I didn't have a photo of myself on my Instagram. It was just my work, my brand logo. And then finally, I decided I'm going to put my headshot up there as my little icon.
That's what I took. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also too, my email signature, same thing. For a long time, I didn't have my photo there, and I've actually taken my photo out again. But for a little while, I had my photo in there because I wanted people to know that when they hired me, they were getting a Latina. I thought that was important for people to know. I want to be a diverse voice. I want them to know. But am I the Latina they think they're hiring? Because I was raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota by two white lesbians.
Yeah.
So am I really the girl from Texas or California or New Mexico? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I was raised in a very whitewashed place. Now, I don't regret that. I didn't choose that. I'm very grateful, but I don't have an accent. I don't speak Spanish. People have no idea. When I call people on the phone, they have no idea what I look like. So it's a double blind situation. It has both worked in my favor and it worked against me because sometimes, and it's the classic example of being stuck between two worlds. I feel both not brown enough for the brown people and not white enough for the white people. I'm too brown for white and too white for brown. So to make up for it, I dyed my hair teal and I'm just living my mermaid life.
It's so perfect. It's whatever make you, who you are. Yes,
exactly. And this is who I'm going to be forever. And once I got my hair back to this color, I was like, yes, we're living. And shout out to Ella at Gloss Beauty Bar. She got me living. But back to the collaborative question. There have been a couple different times where I felt that like the team really came together. I was on a feature a few years ago where we had some really, really quick changes, and it was insane how our team came together. We had to get talent ready from one look to the next look in a matter of minutes. We had maybe 10 minutes to do a complete hair change, complete makeup change, add nails, and get her back to set and put her through wardrobe. Now, I'm not on the wardrobe team, so I don't know how that went, but there is literal video of us on my Instagram all working on this girl at the same time. Someone's doing her hair, I'm doing her makeup, someone's, holding this other.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lot of that. You have to know when you can do that with people. You've really got to have a strong team, people that want to communicate well and people who want to work together and succeed for the common goal. I've had great teams that do that, and I've had poor teams that don't. And I think that when a team works, when they all click, the process is
It's
beautiful,
perfect. Yeah.
magical. It's like, how the heck did we just pull that off? And then we just look untouchable. Like we walk onto set, like, fireworks behind us, and like, guess what? Guess who got the talent ready before camera and lighting was ready? We did, because
Right.
they're the ones that are always like, oh, we're waiting on makeup. No, you're not.
Exactly.
No, you're not. We're waiting on
you
camera.
no, you beat them with your teamwork.
Yeah, I have a
That's a
friend in
great
our
example.
department, and she and I joke all the time, like, "Oh, we're waiting on makeup. No, we're waiting on camera. Oh, who's gonna win
Mm-hmm.
today?" Like, yeah, no, we
Mm-hmm.
joke all the time.
Nice example. Yeah. Well, sometimes teamwork is the best way to go about it because then everybody felt like they partake in the product, the end result, and everybody celebrate. But, you know, um, we have a lot of young folks also listening. And one of the goal of this show that I'm doing is to educate people about the work that we do. So we don't underestimate the work that somebody, do. And we said that, hey, when somebody's doing something, they're really passionate about it. There is a whole philosophy, understanding, um, and proud about it. So when we educate people about it, they especially our young folk that are following us today, they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. You just don't go to school to have a bachelor degree and then you become a millionaire. There is a way you do, small job, or some become a passion, you become a soccer referee, you become professional, and you talk about it. That's your job. We did it before. We did not become professional. We're doing something else. And today, I don't even foresee myself back then when I met you that I will be even speaking English like this. But you and I are talking today. You see? So everything it come when you are working hard at it and you are at it trying to make it perfection. So that's the plan of me doing this informed decision about the work that everybody do to make it shine, and we show our diversity in every and each of the field that we are in. So that leads me to ask you if there is any advice or any kind of aspiration you can advice you can give to people or young folks that are aspiring to a makeup artist, to be a makeup artist, or who want to work in that film industry today due to the challenges that you have seen and the work schedule that you went through, all the stress, the happy moment that you celebrate so far. What are the advice you can give to that young girl, a young boy that admire you every single time? I know most of the time on social media, we post what we want to post to admire people. But there is some, a little bit hiccup there, back there. What are the sincere advice you can give to those young people who admire to be an artist?
This is going to sound so cheesy because it's literally the topic of our conversation, but being authentic, and being, taking care of yourself, knowing your boundaries, knowing your limits, knowing when to say no. That's something, as I've now gotten into my 30s, that I will say that it took me a long time to learn, how to say no. No is a two-letter word, but it's also a full sentence. And turning jobs down that I don't feel align with me, whether it's because of the producer or the content or the actress or the actor, whatever it is, that if it doesn't feel right to me, as much as I want to, I try to say yes to as much as I can, but no one can do everything. And I think letting that go has been incredibly empowering. I think knowing that what is meant for you will come to you, and what misses you was never yours to begin with. Being okay and accepting that, I think, was some of the best advice I was ever given. And being okay with my friends succeeding. I love seeing my friends succeed. I would never, but I find, we can all sometimes accidentally be a little jealous and try, and social media, like you said, is one of the worst ways because we compare ourselves constantly to each other. But remembering that social media is a highlight reel and that people oftentimes don't show the sad times. It's not that I'm going to change how I am about doing that. I like to continue to spread the positivity, but I don't want people to think that I'm happy like this all the time. I definitely have internal battles, familial battles, relationship battles with, everyone I've ever met or worked with. Like, it's just who we are as humans. And so, my advice is that, and this is something I tell myself now every day, is to slow down, breathe, and let them. I've been reading / listening to a new book on Audible called The Let Them Theory, and it's honestly changed my life. And letting people think however they want to think about you, and not letting other people's perceptions about you change how you feel or how you work. Be authentic, be yourself. And the people who love that version of you will show up for you and will
Yes.
celebrate you. The people who don't. And that's okay, because not
Yes.
everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. And as a reformed people pleaser, I can tell you that as hard it is, as much as you want to change for other people and you want to be that thing for everyone, it's impossible. You can't find a way to be something for everyone. You will lose yourself. That is truly when you will dip behind a mask, if we're going back to that beginning part of the conversation. Trying to be too many things for other people, trying to spread yourself so thin that you lose yourself, that is the true meaning of hiding behind a mask. And it has nothing to do with makeup and everything to do with losing who you are and not valuing what makes you special. I think that if someone wanted to do this job, they could pursue anything. They could start as a carpenter and then work building film sets. They could start as an electrician and end up working in lighting. They could pursue being a doctor like I was and then end up in makeup. There are so many ways to get into this business. There's really no limits. So whatever you're good at, whatever you are passionate about, whatever drives you to wake up in the morning and say, hey, I am going to change the world. Whatever it is that makes you tick, stick with that. Don't feel like you have to do art school even. I never went to art school. I didn't know how to draw. Like, I can't draw still. I'm not an artist in that way, but I found makeup through science. I found it through biology. And so that is what I use to take my physiology anatomy background and use it to know the skeletal structure of humans and creatures and how to create new character, how blood works, how arterial versus venous looks different. And so when you're putting it on the skin, you have to make sure it looks anatomically correct. I use that. So if you are someone who's really interested in space or geography or politics, there is a space you can find the crossover. Anything that anyone does, I'm like, I bet I can find you a job in film. If you like organizing, go into the AD department. If you love paperwork, go work in the production office. If you love working with animals, become an animal wrangler. Like, you can literally do anything in this business. The sky is the limit. So don't worry about necessarily, oh, I have to go to film school, or oh, I have to do this, or I have to go to art school, or this is the only way. It's one way. You can do that. There's a lot of really successful people that did that, but it's not the only way. And I think that finding your own path will make you the most profitable and hopefully pursued individual in your field. I think the more that we set ourselves apart by being true to ourselves is how we make ourselves marketable and how we will eventually succeed in our careers.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate your insights, your encouragement for the young folks who are listening to us today. Like I said, we are, listened by more people on our podcast and in our back end app here. There's a young folks interested, people, diversity, immigrants who are listening, and also they might be asking themselves, oh, I don't know, there's a film industry where I can just be doing the makeup or I can be doing that. That's what I do for myself every single day. Then I will be a professional doing in one day. Some people might take it as a, just a hobby. But if you're really into it, these are one of the example of a successful film makeup artist that you can look up to, you can seek advice from, and then she'll be happy to help. Or she's very social and nice. That's why she accepted to do this with me anyway. With her busy schedule, you already know she's very busy and just ongoing. So I'm so happy that you accept to do this with me. I've been trying to push this news everywhere on our platform, and we will also play it again later this evening or tomorrow on our platform. And if you happen to connect to our radio, you'll hear it mostly on the weekends, and then I will re-edit everything, and then you're gonna see it on our podcast websites all over the place. So I really appreciate that you are among us and giving this insightful communication to our listeners. Do you have any final word to give to your listener out there? Because we're gonna post this later also on on social media, and it's actually been broadcast already in audio, but we're gonna post the video if you may, and then they also can listen.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I feel like, I feel like we could do a whole part 2 of this, because there were some questions we didn't even get to, which I'm happy to find time to talk to you again. It's been a real joy. So yes, the last thing I want to say is I'm going to do a little self promo. I have my own company. It's called Sedicate Prep, and we teach how to get into the film industry. And I offer online Zoom classes on learning the business of makeup and set etiquette or set life prep, which means how to read a call sheet, how to prepare a set bag, and then from the business side, how to create a resume, how to get your first job, how to market yourself on social media, things like that. So if you are really interested in pursuing this as a career, or even if you're just like, maybe I could do this for fun for a little bit until I figure out what other part of the film industry I want to do, that's fine too. Now it's a big investment in terms of, having the makeup in your kit. It costs money. I'm not going to beat around the bush there. But my classes are very affordable. You can go to my company website, which is www.setiquetteprep.com. That's SETIQUETTEPREP.com. It's kind of the 2 words, set and etiquette smashed together. And check it out. I teach as often as I can. I teach on demand when people are available, when I'm available. I've got a very free-flowing schedule. I'm in prep for a couple different shows right now. But when I'm not working, I love to give back, and I want to bring my next generation up with me. I want to bring people of color with me. I want to bring the Latino community with me. I want to elevate us all, because I'm not going to be able to do this forever. And I want someone else to be able to tell our stories authentically. So, and Lord knows if we can't get more people like us in the trailer, then people on camera are not going to look like us look great. Because we've all heard the horror stories of people not being able to color match. And just even having someone that looks like you when you walk into a trailer, it makes a difference. So yeah, I that's my last little tidbit is come work with me, and I would love to teach you. And you don't have to live in Hollywood, Atlanta, New York. You can live anywhere in the world. Guarantee you can find a way to tell a story. If you've got a phone, you can make a short film, and that's all it takes.
There you have it, dear listeners. The presence matter in the trailer. Your presence matter. If you like this podcast, comment on the social media. If you like, she has educational platform, check it out, and then subscribe to learn from a professional like Elena Miller. Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate your presence today.
Yes, thank you so much. And I can't wait to hopefully meet some of you guys you know, if not, just come say hey, and I'd love to connect. I'm happy to travel the world. I can come to you. You want me to work in Africa? Let's do it.
Sure.
I'm down.
So,
I got a
yeah,
passport.
now I'm going to stop it from the podcast, and then
Cool.
we can talk.
Sounds good.